Alright, so lots of people want to know, how do you make these paracord woggles? I make hundreds and hundreds of these paracord woggles, and for fun. I do not make them to sell. It is a hobby that I enjoy doing. Of most recently, this rainbow cord woggle was made for cubs attending Cubbaree, Queensland 2018. This particular troop was rainbow fish. So each cub in the troop and the leaders wore a woggle, made it easy to identify them, particularly in photos. This is a 4 metre length of cord to make one woggle. Possibilities are endless. These is my district badge, Woogaroo, and so my cubs all have a Woogaroo woggle that we made with cord that matches our district badge. So if we're at a district event, we're all wearing the same, but it's endless possibilities, colours of cords, it goes on and on and on and on, pinks and solids. But today we are going to make initially a two colour woggle, starting with my jig. Everyone asks, how do I make them consistently the same? I use a jig. Lots of people do make them without a jig. I always find it quite easy with a jig. Without a jig, you use 2 fingers. It's about the same size. Holding it, wrapping around, and then starting your knots, or tying of your knot inside your fingers. I find this quite difficult, particularly if you're wanting to make lots of them the same size, particularly if you have children with little fingers. They'll end up being that tight, you can't put your scarf through them. So this is when this is really, really helpful. So I'm going to use 2 colours to make a woggle this morning. Show you sort of a camouflage pattern, a very light khaki. These colours are colours that appeal to a lot of scouts, whilst lots of the brighter colours appear to appeal to some of the younger kids. So the inner part of our woggle, the first part inside, that in this instance it's the orange, and in this instance it's going to be the olive green. Okay, we're starting with a length of paracord. It's 140 centimetres long, 1.4 metres. What we're going to do is we're going to find the middle, bring our 2 ends together, and we will find the middle of our cord. Now, my jig is just a piece of electrical conduit that is 30 mils in diameter, or 32 millimeters in diameter. I have cut a slot and drilled 2 holes. The holes are 8 mil holes, and the slot is approximately 6 millimeters wide. Okay, 2 holes. Some people will make it using their right hand, like I do. Some people will want to make it using their left hand, which I struggle with. But essentially it's the same from one side to the other. So with our bite, insert it in our hole, the first hole. So it's just poking through about 5mm. And then we just roll our cord around the jig, separating as we pass where we started. From here, it doesn't matter if we start on the left or we start on the right, because we're using one colour. When we're using two different colours, example this one where we've got green on the middle and red on the outside. If you looked on the inside, it's the opposite, green across the middle and green on the outside. It would depend which way we started here, but because we're using one colour, it doesn't matter. So if we start with one end first, we push it through that slot, out the other side, we get this loop. What we do is we take this one underneath that and down through our loop. Cinch that up. Looks like a granny knot. We're going to pull that tight. Okay. And we do it again. Same side. This one started over here. Now on this side we go in our jig, up through our slot, create that first loop. This one goes underneath and through that loop. And we just pull it tight again. So as you can see, we've got the start of our cobra knot. Nice and tight. Tight is the key. As we tighten this on, we continue our putt around. It's important that this is always tight. Tight, tight, tight. It's what gives the woggle its stiffness, and if it's not stiff and it's loose and sloppy, it won't stay on your scarf. So, we've taken it off the jig, made sure it's tight, and we're just going to continue with this same knot. So, a lot of people will lose track of where they are and will start on the wrong side, and then it doesn't look right and can't work out where they went wrong. When we're using two colours, so we're using black and yellow, it's always easy to remember that same colour is the one that passes through the inside every time. But if we simply look at this knot that we've got here, we've got this cord here that always seems to pop up and poke through the top. And then we've always got this one here that seems to go underneath this loop and points down towards the table. You can see how one sort of points up and one points down. It's this one, the one that points towards you when you're looking at it, that always goes through our loop or inside the circle. And this one always goes underneath and back through that loop. So you can see our knot. Okay, and now it's on the opposite side. Again, it goes back through, under and over, and we pull it up tight. And we just keep going. We keep going all the way around till we come back to the end, and I'll show you what to do next. Under, through the loop, pointing up, through the loop, under, and back through. Under, back through. kite. Okay, so we're working our way around, always keeping our two inside chords parallel. So you can see one points up, one points down. Alright, so we've slowly made our way back around towards the middle. You can see we've got a nice circle happening. Make sure that that loop sits inside like that. And we just a couple more flats. Finish it off. Okay, we got one or two more here. I think I can fit one more on there. Okay, and that's the first part of our two colour woggle done. So there are scissors, cut them off nice and close. Then using a lighter, I use one of these little gas torches. Just fray the ends, that stops it from coming apart. Alright, and we're ready to start our second pass. So, I'm going to use this cool camouflage colour, camouflage pattern. Alright, it is one length, 250 centimetres long, or 2.5 metres. Again, we find the middle. Here's our middle. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our first loop, or our first colour, as the core. So what we're going to do is we're going to push our loop through like that. And tying the same knot that we tied beforehand. So outer one underneath and through our loop. It's tight. Pointing down, pointing up, create a loop. Back through the middle of our centre woggle, our centre plait. There's our loop. This one, underneath and through our loop. Okay, pulling it up tight. And you can see our double cobra knot starting to come together. Pointing up, pointing down, pointing up, goes through. One pointing down goes underneath and through our loop. Okay, tight. And again. Tight. Just as critical the second time round that we tight, always tight. It's the second pass that gives it its bulk, its strength. This is what keeps it in shape. This is what makes it tighter inside. Okay, we're starting to make our way back around to where we began. And we're almost done. Now, there are a couple of ways of finishing these woggles. What I found in the very beginning when I was making woggles like these is that if they do come off whilst you're running around playing, they're gone. So I incorporated this additional cord. You're thinking, what will we do with all that? It seems like a waste. Well, we actually tie it off and create a keeper that's adjustable depending on the youth member's hairstyle, head style, neck, age, etc, etc. This is a lanyard knot and it's adjustable. We can make it longer, we can make it shorter, which makes the keeper longer around the neck, and will hold it in position, making it basically impossible to lose. For those who aren't too keen on the paracord knot, I have recently discovered these little breakaway clips, which is pretty handy. Finishes off the same way as it does previously, but only takes about, I'd say about 3 kilos for these clips to break away. So there's no chance of getting caught on anything. You certainly know when it's come apart, and they go back together again and again and again. So I'll show you how to finish that off. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come back through, tie another knot on. Now before I finish this off, I am going to take this end, pass it back through that loop. Now, still tying it off exactly the same way we were before. Nice and tight. I now pull this one. Tight, tight. Okay, and they're both coming out on the top side. I like to make sure everything's nice and even, so I'm going to trim one of these. Okay, now let's add a new knot to your list of knot tying abilities. This is the lanyard knot. This is the kind of knot that we would use if we had to make a flagpole and put a flag rope on so that the loop was continuous, a continuous loop. We would pass our ropes past one another, and we create a loop around, and we wrap it around 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Then take this end and we push it back through the loops that we've just made. 1, 2. And we tighten all of that up. So what we have is we should be able to grab our knot and slide our rope through it. And that's making it tighter, or pulling it this way, making it larger. So we will punch that right down. Tie our other side through our breakaway clip. Loop underneath, around once, twice, 3 times, and then we pass that back through our 3 loops. 1, 2, and push our knot up nice and tight. Okay, and there we have it. We can adjust how much of a loop we need to fit over someone's head. And if we get pulled tight, it breaks away. And it just clips back together.